Candidates, a very warm welcome from Dr.Abhinav Srivastava to the aspirants that are being preparing for the competitive examinations. So, as usual, we are here to discuss in front of you certain problems regarding certain special problems that might be that arise a difficult scenario in front of the students regarding some common questions. One of that common question I have picked up so that it can clear the concepts of the most of the students and help them to resolve their concepts regarding some misconcepts if they are persistent with the student's mind. So just moving towards the solution to the problem, I have gathered from the mails that I have received during the spare time. I deeply apologize for the thing that I am not able to respond to each and every student in spite of some time deficiencies there during my regular curriculum. So when I feel that certain problem have to be discussed in front of the students with the help of this platform, so that conceptual problem I am selecting on the behalf that it will clear the mindset or misconcepts arises regarding that domain, and it can privilege most of the students for a single concept. Okay, the emphasis is always to solve a question that can maximize the conflict resolution, that will maximize the doubt clearance among the set of the students. That question have been selected by me. Okay, so on the part of that, I am just here for a question in front of you to solve that question and clear the concept if they're in the mind of the student. Okay, thanks. And just moving towards the question and the solution, how to solve that question. Okay, what the question is saying that a plane moves to the east with the pilot points the plane somewhat south of east. So we have certain directions given, and on the basis of that certain directions we have to calculate, or we have to estimate the movement of the plane. The first estimate is given saying that the plane moved towards the east. The plane moved towards the east means the basic trajectory for the movement of the plane is movement towards the east. Okay, that is the plane. We have that plane. Okay, now while the pilot points the plane somewhat south of east, the pilot points the plane somewhat towards the south of east. If I have made a certain we can say directional criteria, that is east, west and north and south. The beauty of that question is the thing that plane is moving towards the east, but the pilot points the plane somewhat south of east. So the pilot is pointing the plane towards some kind of this direction. Okay, towards a steady wind that blows to the northeast. Plane has a velocity VPW. VPW signifies the velocity of the plane with respect to the wind, relative to wind, with an air speed relative to wind of 215 km per hour. That is given, directed at an angle theta south of east. Wind has a velocity VWG. This is also given in the form of VWG, means velocity of wind with respect to the ground, relative to the ground, with a speed of 65 km per hour, directed 20 degree east of north. Now this kind of things, we can say this kind of linguistic modeling in the competitive examination questions imparts a larger impact over the estimation of the students, or it can challenge the estimation of the student regarding the conceptual problem. So the thing is that if you read that question in a steady way, you can read the question again and again, because I have a certain limited space to be carried out, so to be present in front of you. Again reading, if you read the question in a very precise format, I am just adjusting it. A plane moved towards the east while the pilot points to the plane somewhat south of east towards a steady wind that blows to the north of east. the plane has a velocity VPW related to the wind with an air speed of 215 km per hour directed at an angle of theta south of east. Wind has a velocity VWG related to the ground with a speed of 65 km per hour directed 20 degree east of north. Calculate the magnitude of velocity VPG plane related to the ground at and an angle theta. Now, if you read that question, then the question seems to be very confusing. It might be the problem that the question seems to be very confusing. But if you resolve the question step by step according to the what is our directional constants, simply the first thing you have to do is to map the question with the help of directional constants. We have just plotted directional constant at east, west, north and south. The plane is approaching towards the east direction, that is the basic thing. And actually the magnitude of velocity with respect to the ground, VPG will be actually this vector VPG will be this vector. Okay, that is velocity of plane related to the ground. Now we have two things here: velocity of plane with respect to ground and velocity of plane with respect to the wind. Now we have to just think of the fact that what is the velocity of the plane with respect to the wind. We have to obtain the velocity of the plane with respect to the ground that has been directed towards the east, as listed in the question, that the plane moves to the east. Now, while the pilot points the plane somewhat south of east, means this is the directional velocity constant for the plane with respect to the wind. Okay, so I have plotted certain thing so that it can feasible for you to see. So what at the south of east, what it is signifying at the south of east, it is signifying the velocity of the plane with respect to the wind. Because most of the student, when I am just solving the question, actually the student that has traversed that question in front of me with the help of mail, the basic thing what I had recognized that that student is failing to accept that velocity of plane with respect to the ground and velocity of plane with respect to the wind. He is confusing with the velocity of the plane with respect to the wind and the velocity of plane with respect to the ground. Actually, what we have been asked is the magnitude of the velocity plane related to the ground, that is VPG. And what is the directional constant for the VPG? It is the direction towards the east, as stated in the question earlier. Okay, if I move our board in the upward direction, okay, it is clearly mentioned that the plane moves to the east. So the plane move to the east signifies the velocity of plane with respect to the ground, and the pilot points the plane somewhat to the south of east signifies the velocity of plane with respect to the wind. So VPW will be the velocity of what the pilot is pointing toward the plane, that is the velocity of plane with respect to the wind. So we have VPW towards the southeast and we have VPG towards the east. Now this theta angle has been given. If you clearly read the question, you can easily see that the VPW related to the wind, then towards the steady wind, I am again stating the question. A plane moves to the east while the pilot points the plane somewhat south of east towards a steady wind that blows to the north of east. Now we have to make a separate velocity vector for the wind also, that I have made here. So okay, so the steady wind that blows to the north of east, plane has a velocity VPW related to the wind with an air speed related to the wind of 215 km per hour directed at an angle theta south of east, that is this angle on which the pilot has diverted the plane, that is an angle theta. Okay, now what is 215 here? This is the important thing. VPG or VPW? It's VPW because we have to obtain the VPG actually. So VPW will be 215 actually in magnitude, kmph. Okay, kilometer per hour. Okay, directed angle theta south of east. Wind has a velocity VWG related to the ground. Wind has a velocity VWG related to the ground with a speed of 65 km per hour directed 20 degree east of north. This is the important thing, 20 degree east of north. So if north is there, this is one thing very important to listen carefully here, that this is not the northeast, it is east of north. I am again pointing that it is stated is east of north. This is a very important point of concern. This is not the northeast, that is east of north. So the angle what is it is making with the north is 20 degree basically. That has been said here. Okay. And what is the magnitude of that velocity of the wind relative to the ground? That is 65 km per hour. And so the VWG where here is mentioned that 65 km per hour is there. Okay. Calculate the magnitude of the velocity VPG and an angle theta. If this concept is clear, if you can arrive at this directional planning from that question, means that you have solved the 60% of the question, because after that only the resolution of the forces, resolution of the velocity vector has been done and to completely solve the question. So I have just solved the question with the very conceptual points, just formulating the directional vectors according to the it is given in the question. Okay, that what is it is given in the previous section. I have also elaborated that the angle that is the VWG is making, that is 20g, velocity of wind with respect to the ground, and velocity of plane with respect to the wind is theta degree southeast direction as mentioned. Theta, we have to calculate theta and VPW. So the important thing, what makes the what is the important perspective in the solution of the problem, just resolve the vector. If you formulate these parameters, or we can say if you formulate these kind of things, if you formulate this directional things according to the velocity, then the question is 80% solved. Okay, so most of the students that might be confused with the linguistic perspective of the question, I have just solved that question. We have to calculate the VPG. Actually the magnitude of the VPG we have to calculate. So just since from the resolution of the force, resolution of the velocity vectors, we can easily see that if I say that VPG, that is velocity of the plane with respect to the ground, is equals to VPW plus VWG, or we can say VPG is equals to VPW plus that is VPW plus VWG. I have just put the directional cosine directional vector of that wind with respect to the ground, just matches with this vector diagram. So by just combining that, we can easily see that VPG is equals to VPW plus VWG. Just I have written that. Okay, VPW plus VWG. If this is okay, then now we resolve the VPG into two components, either X component and Y component analysis. What is the main concern why I am just resolving here is that because we know that the VPG is that the plane is moving towards the east. Okay, the plane is moving towards the east as depicted in the question. The plane moves towards the east. It is clearly stated that. So, since the plane is moving towards the east, hence the Y component analysis will be 0. And this will give us a very important aspect for the calculation as well. So only the X component will be VPGX, while the Y component will be 0. If we take the X component for this, we have to take the X component of this as well as X component of this. If we can take the Y component here, then we have to take the Y component of VPW also and the Y component of the VWG also. Okay. Now, if we carefully see, if we resolve, both VWG can be resolved in the X and Y component as well. And this is VWG. Similarly, VPW is also can also be resolved with the help of theta as well. VPW and at VPW there. Okay, we have VPW there theta at an angle theta. So we can easily resolve VPW for VPW cos theta and VPW sin theta. Similarly, VWG can be resolved at VWG cos 20 degree, VWG sin. Okay, we can say that I can write it that in this form vector also. VWG, we can resolve VWG in cosine and sine terms also. Just if we take the example here. So we can, I'm just elaborating that we can resolve both the VWG on the basis of this 20 degree, and we can resolve the VPW with the help of this theta angle. So VPW cos theta and VPW sin theta. Similarly, VWG cos 20 degree and VWG sin 20 degree and VWG cos 20 degree. So we can easily resolve these VWG and VPW on the basis of x and y components. That is also needed, because when x component of VPGX has been taken, then the x component of this and x component of this has been taken. If y component has been taken, then y component of VPG will collaborate with the y component of VPW and y component of VWG. So we have to take the, if we are taking the x component, then we have to take the x component of these two. If we have taken the y component, then we have to take the y component of these two. And these two vectors can easily be resolved on the basis of this diagrammatic approach. Now, the important perspective is that just written at why y component is 0, because we have easily seen, we can easily see from the question that the plane is moving towards the east. So y component will be 0. Why y component will be 0? Because y component signifies the liftment, and the plane is moving towards the east. That will constitute the x component. Okay, so that's why I have written the y component as 0. Now simply resolving these things, you can easily see that VPWX will be velocity of plane with respect to the wind in x direction. VPWX, when I have resolved the VPWX in the x direction, that will be constitute the cosine of that. VPWX cos theta. Similarly, if I take the y component of the VPW, then the y component of VPW will be towards the downward direction, VPW here. That's why I written the negation of the VPW sin theta. Similarly, you can see the VWGX resolution, that is for 20 degree VWGX, cos will be the y direction positive and sin will be the horizontal x direction, that is also written here. So if you put and VPW is given on the magnitude basis, it is given. So by putting the VPW here, VWG here, VPW here, VWG here, and putting in these equations, you can easily compute the value of theta as well as the value of the VPG. Okay, because the ultimate goal is the VPG. Just solve it if any problem arises, because for the student, I have solved that question. You can easily be taken the reference from this concept and easily solve the question. Nothing to worry about that. When we got the value of, actually VPW is there, 215 cos theta, we get the exact value of VWG, because sin 20 is also can be calculated. VWG value 65 is given. So x and y component of the VWG can be easily calculated in magnitude. But I think so VWX has a variable theta is there. So we have to first compute from this equation, from these equations, when we put these values of the VPWX, VGWX in these equations, x component and y component, we will surely get the value of theta, and as we can get the value of VPG in the vector form here, as well as magnitudically. Okay. So so this question is not of very much tough side, but just if you know the vector resolution of the forces according to the directional parameters given, then it can be easily solvable. Okay, on the basis of that, now just concluding, please practice these kind of questions. This kind of questions are of very much important to for the aspect of the competitive examinations. I'm not saying that it is a question regarding the JEE Advanced, but it might be a question on the JEE Main, as well as NEET also. Okay, NEET. Now the NEET is also not a very light examination on the part of the physics. It's because of the selection is going on. We have limited seats, though, so the selector has to choose the best among the given aspirants. Okay. Thanks for seeing the video. I think you can solve the question easily on the basis of the solutions, on the basis of the hints given to you. And best of luck for your examination. Thank you.